Good afternoon, everyone. Have you picked up your phone to check one thing and then suddenly an hour has disappeared? Or have you ever tried to stop playing a game, but your brain just keeps telling you, just one more level? If you have, you're not alone. My name is Mayonne, and today I want to talk about a challenge that is unique to our generation. We are growing up in a time with more amazing technology than ever before, but also more distractions. Learning to manage our screens is one of the biggest challenges we will face. To figure this out, I want to explore 3 things with you. First, why is it so hard to stop? Second, what are the real-world problems this can cause? And finally, the most important part, how can we take back control? I'll be sharing my own story, and I hope you can relate to some of the challenges I faced. So to start with, why is it so hard to stop? It's not just about the willpower. Many games and apps on a Nintendo, an iPad, or a phone are designed by very smart people to keep us hooked. They use something called instant gratification. When you beat a level or get a bunch of likes, your brain gets a rush of a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is the motivation chemical that keeps us entertained, like when you eat a bowl of ice cream. It makes you feel good, so you want to do it again and again. This happened to me when playing games on Roblox. I had no control over the time I was playing because of the instant rewards. Speaking of Roblox, some games like Grow a Garden and Steal a Brain Rot use special timed events that give out their best rewards late at night around midnight or as early morning as 5 a.m. They know we'll stay up later than we should just to get that prize or bonus. I mean, what about our sleep? That's not an accident. It's part of the design. Then there's social pressure, the fear of missing out. When most of your friends are talking about what they experienced on games or social media, if you don't know what they are talking about, you can feel a bit left out from their discussions. Friends expect that you would join them in online games. It's hard to stop because these forces are strong, and they can pull us into an addiction without us even realizing it. This leads to my second point, the real-world problems. I know more about these dangers because I have lived with them. This misuse can cause mood swings and loss of sleep, and can even lead to serious diseases like obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. And the worst part is, kids often don't realize it is happening at all, and don't realize that it may cost their life. The consequences can be really serious if we don't fix it. The problem isn't just what we are doing on screens, it's what we aren't doing. Every hour we spend on screens is an hour we're not spending playing outside, talking with our family, or making real connections with our friends. We're giving real life for a digital one. And it's not just about lost time, it's about what's happening inside our heads. Scientists have found out that our brains are physically changing. Excessive screen time can actually weaken the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that's responsible for focus and decision-making. That part of our brain is still developing, and when we overwhelm it, we're training it to have a shorter attention span. When this happened to me, the effects were clear. My sleep was a mess, and I felt unfocused the next day. All the things I used to enjoy, like playing the keyboard, reading books, learning science and maths, or learning about empires, felt like a struggle. It was devastating. This isn't just about getting a bad grade. It's about our mental health and protecting ourselves from dangers like cyberbullying. But the good news is, and this is my final point, we can take back control. My parents helped me find a better path for my screen time, but here's what made it work. They asked me to decide how many days and hours I wanted to play, and I tried my best to follow the time limit. This was powerful because I was making the choice, not just following rules someone else set. It was super difficult at first, but the changes I made saved me. I didn't just stop everything at once. That would have been impossible. Instead, I started with 2 hours daily, which already felt hard. Then gradually, over several weeks, I reduced it to just 2 days a week with a strict time limit of 1 hour each day. We used the screen time feature on my devices to track and limit the time spent on the most addictive apps. Having that automatic cutoff helped because the device would make the decision for me when my willpower was weak. The most important step was asking my parents to help me find other things to do outside of screens, and they supported me to do so. I used the additional time to start doing other important things that I needed to do, like bike riding, reading books, and practicing to play the violin or keyboard. Here are some specific strategies that worked for me and might work for you to help you too. Start where you are. If you're playing 4 hours a day, try cutting it to 3 hours first, then keep reducing gradually. Ask your parents to let you set the limits. You're more likely to stick to rules that you create yourself. Use the built-in screen time controls to track which apps eat up your time. Then set limits on those specific apps. Put your screens in another room when doing homework or going to bed. Find a replacement activity you enjoy. For me, it was music. For you, it might be sports, art, or building things. Tell your friends about your goals. They might want to join you. And even if they don't, they'll understand why you're not always online. We have to be the leaders in charge of our technology, not the other way around. So to sum up everything, we need to understand why these devices are so addictive, see the very real dangers they pose to our brains and our future, and know that we absolutely have the power to fix it. Of course, technology itself isn't the enemy. It's an essential thing in our everyday lives. We can use it for important things like learning a new skill, finding new interests, or listening to an audiobook you can't find in any library. The problem is when we misuse it. That's when we need to be careful. Think of technology like a hammer. A hammer is an amazing tool. You can use it to build a house, to create something incredible. But if you're not careful and swing it wildly without thinking, you can hurt yourself badly. Let's use this incredible tool we have to build skills, learn new things, and to create amazing opportunities. Thank you.